Read and discuss. Abraham Lincoln is one of the greatest of American statesmen. He is known for his celebrated speeches. Here is the story of his first speech as a little boy. Abe's first speech. Abe made his first speech when he was a boy, going barefoot, his trousers held up by one suspender and his shock of hair sticking through a hole in the crown of his cheap straw hat. Abe, in company with his rail-splitting companion, Dennis Hanks, attended a political meeting which was addressed by a typical stump speaker, one of the one of those loud-voiced fellows who shouted at the top of his voice and waved his arms widely. At the conclusion of the speech, which did not meet the views either of Abe or Dennis, the latter declared that Abe could make a better speech than that, whereupon he got a dry goods box and called on Abe to reply to the campaign orator. Little Abe threw his old straw hat on the ground, and mounting the dry goods box, delivered a speech which held the attention of the crowd and won him considerable applause. Even the campaign orator admitted that it was a fine speech, and answered every point in his own oration. Dennis Hanks, who thought Abe was the greatest man who ever lived, was delighted, and he often spoke of how young Abe got the better of the trained campaign speaker. Think and respond. What made little Abe stand on the dry goods box and deliver the speech? Do you think good dress, appearance, position in society, etc., are needed to present yourself before the public for a speech? What is the role of Dennis in bringing out the best in young Abe? Do you think that everybody has some potential in them? Some people take initiative while others do not dare to showcase their talents. What do you think are the reasons for this? Write down your views. Even when each of his brothers and little sister, whose wings were far shorter than his own, ran to the brink, flapped his wings and flew away, he failed to muster up courage to then that plunge which appeared to him too desperate. His father and mother had come around, calling to him, shrilly scolding him, threatening to let him starve on his ledge unless he flew away. But for the life of him, uh, he could not move. That was 24 hours ago. Since then, nobody had come near him. The day before, all day long, he had watched his parents flying about with his brothers and sister, perfecting them in the art of flight, teaching them how to skim the waves and how to dive for fish. He had, in fact, seen his older brother catch his first herring endeavor uh, at standing on a rock while his parents circled around raising a proud crackle, and all the morning the whole family had walked about on the big plateau midway down the opposite cliff laughing at his cowardice. The sun was now ascending the sky, blasting violently on his ledge that faced the youth. He felt the heat because he had not eaten since the previous nightfall, when he had found a dried piece of mackerel's tail at the far end of his ledge. Now there was not a single scrap of food left. He had searched every inch, rooting among the rough, dirt-caked straw nest where he had his brothers and sister had been hatched. Even when ground at the dried pieces of eggshell, it was like eating a part of himself. He then tottled back and forth from one end of the ledge to the other, his long grey legs stepping daintily, trying to find some means of reaching his parents without having to fly but one each side of him. The ledge ended in the sheer fall of preci- precipice, with the sea beneath, and between him and his parents there was a deep, wide crack. Surely he would reach them without flying if he could only move northward along the cliff face. But then, on what could he walk? There was no ledge, and he had not a fly. He was not a fly, and above him he could see nothing. The precipice was sheer, and the top of it was perhaps farther away than the sea beneath him. He stepped slowly out of the brink of the ledge, and standing on one leg with the other leg hidden under his wing, he closed one eye, then the other, and pretended to be falling asleep. Still, they took no notice of him. He saw his two brothers and his sisters lying on the plateau, dozing with their heads sunk into their necks. His father was preening the feathers on his white back. Only his mother was looking at him. She was standing on a little high hump on the plateau, her white breast thrust forward. Now and again she tore at the piece of fish that lay at her feet, and then scraped each side of her beak on the rock. The sight of the food maddened him. How he loved to tear food that way, scraping his beak now and again. She waited a moment, surprised, wondering why she did not come nearer, and then, maddened by hunger, he dived at the flash. With a loud scream, he fell outward and downward into the space his mother had approved. Upwards, as he passed beneath her, he heard the swish of her wings. Then a monstrous terror, monstrous terror seized him and his heart stood still. He could hear nothing, but it only lasted a moment. Still he could hear nothing, but it only lasted a moment. The next moment he felt his wings appeared, wings spread outwards. The wing rushed against his breast feathers, then under his stomach and against his wing. He could feel the tips of his wing cutting through air. He was falling. He was not falling headlong now. He went through the air. He was falling through. He was soaring gradually downwards and outwards. He was he was no longer afraid. He just felt a bit dizzy. Then he flapped his wing once